Next up, we have 12th place James Mann, maybe the most surprising entrant for the HLC. I believe he was the last person announced. I certainly didn't realize it until I showed up at the venue and ran into him and got to meet him in person, which is always great to put names to faces. So James Mann playing Air Jiro. So a lot of people may know James Mann for his Asui play, but this is kind of the first deck that he had success on, and it is absolutely the best character for this format. I mean, statistically speaking, at least. And so the first thing we're going to notice is 4 ready, get set, go, 4 seizing the advantage. Absolutely just insane, going full 8 actions. He said going first or going second, I don't care. I need to have these cards. These cards are too important. Seizing the advantage is just a huge reason of why Jiro's so strong right now. And then ready, get, set, go is just a huge benefit when going second. So absolutely no fear from this man. I mean, it's a 64 card deck with 21 attacks, right? So our ratios are all over the place. And this is our first asset sighting, you know, at least I guess we did have the Tracy Cape from Christopher Bromley's deck, but you know, that was like waving between mainboard and sideboard with Jose's version. So this is another 1-diff asset. We haven't seen too many people playing assets, even the other Jiro decks. It'll be very interesting to see if the other Jiros have this because, you know, spoiler alert, guys, we got a lot of Jiros coming up in these top cuts. So, yeah, very, very interesting to see Earphone Jack finally make it onto a list. But here is that one of Pillar Swing. I think people like this card a lot, but they recognize that we can't be jamming like 3 or 4 of it, because we're playing 2 checks. 2 Gravity Lift is pretty important in this deck because we do have the instant explosive release. So we're not running 4 of like Philip did, but 2 of seems like a good number. Only 1 Indiscriminate Shock, but it only takes 1 to kill a man. So maybe we just didn't need it super often. But besides that, we have Double Jab Pummel, which is obviously a great extension card. Only 3 is a little interesting to me. Maybe where our high blocks were taken care of, so maybe it could have been a block zone issue. This isn't the kill card either, so definitely a good extension piece that you expect to see in any charge deck on its symbols. 4 Home Run Comet, this is the kill card. It's the late string. It's the weapon charge. It's, you know, Pillar Swing also has a weapon, which is how it makes it into this deck, I think. But this is the one you're going to tutor with Sound Waves the most. 4 of Jolt to shut down opponent's defensive pieces and to enable instant explosive release, which gives us those explosive early game Sound Waves plays. So very, very normal stuff, very normal ratios here. But most notably, we have a little bit of everything. We have a little bit of the IER version. We have a little bit of the, you know, full Home Run Comet version. And we've got all the spice with our high difficulty attacks. So very cool to see, not super surprising. 1 rescue completed is a little interesting. 2 dexterous appendages. This is something I wasn't expecting to see a lot of. This isn't a card I expect a lot of people to be running, but I guess it works really good in the Jiro mirror. Or maybe not in the mirror because you get to see what's there, but I don't know. This can be a very interesting card. There's a lot of different applications for it. But because it's hard to get the read on when you need to use it or how to use it, things like that, E-commit for +3 speed is, I don't know. I think that it's very, very cool, and I think maybe more Jiros should be running it as a 1 of. And it can, like, if Drowning in Resentment worked the way that we expected it to, this would make a lot more sense. And this card is the main reason I think that the design for Drowning in Resentment was supposed to counter Sound Waves in like the way that people are mistaken about it, right? They thought that it was going to add the cards to the top of the deck first, and like then all of this makes perfect sense. But that being the case, I don't know how much mileage you're going to get out of this card most of the time. Other than that, 2 Wealthy Aspirations makes a lot of sense. 2 Encouraging Training Partner. We are running, you know, just duplicates of our defense. We're deciding the really powerful one-time use defense is going to be important. And it probably is when you're going to go second pretty much all day. 4 Specialist of Sound, just gotta have it. It's the best way to block. It helps against Jiro especially. 2 Latent Skill this time, 2 Shock Treatment, and 2 Charged Up. So really interesting pieces. These are like a very personal list. When I talked to James Mann, he had talked about not playing for a long time, so these might just be relics of the past. This might be just trying out a new card that has Jiro on it because it makes sense, right? Like it makes sense to play this in her. So yeah, very interesting stuff on the foundation base. I can't really hate on anything. They all are here for a reason, but I could probably lose 1 Shock Treatment. Not a big fan of Charged Up, but they probably put in work for James. So one successful results is a really nice deadlock threat and really good when you have excess momentum. You don't see a lot of people run it though, because Requesting Assistance does a lot of the same work on 2 of its symbols and doesn't cost you the momentum. So you're basically running this just for deadlock 99% of the time. 4 Destined for mainstream is the correct amount. 3 Arrogant Disposition. This is something I see a lot, but I'm telling you guys, run the buddy blocks. I promise you, you don't have to run like all of them. You don't have to get rid of Arrogant completely because it is a foundation, but like trim 1, whatever number of Arrogant Disposition you're willing to run, turn 1 of them into a buddy block. Just turn exactly 1 of them into a +0 mid, and I think you will find that the results are much better. It does make Destined for mainstream, 1% less consistent when you're trying to fish for just any block or any card off the top, But I mean, cards like Earphone Jack and all these actions do that too. So especially for a list where you're willing to play all the different card types, just play 1 character. I promise it will up your win percentage, because a +2 block mod is not as good as a +0, even when it doesn't match the zone. Sometimes just the partial works. 3 of basic training is 1 too few. We need to have 4 basic training. This is just an insane card. It's one of the most registered cards. Was the most registered card at Nats. Probably was at Worlds, and that's with people running it as a 3 of. So just jam 4. 2 release is fine, and 4 requesting rounds it out. So this is your very basic Jiro deck, except it is super greedy. It is super greedy from the deck building stance. James Mann is not worried about consistency. He is worried about power. He wants to bring these powerful interactions no matter what the cost, no matter what the hit to the consistency is. Because it's okay, because if we're going second, Ready, Get, Set, Go is going to help increase our consistency, and seizing the advantage really doesn't mess you up after turn 1 that much. Seizing the advantage once you get to attack, it is a foundation, right? So while a lot of people are turned off by running 8 action cards because you can get some pretty clunky hands, at the same time, if these cards are doing what they're supposed to do, if you do get to activate these cards correctly, if you want to say, then you do still get those resources. You do actually end up ahead on resources. So it's a really interesting take on the deck, specifically because it seems like it's a very high risk, very high reward, and it's this kind of deck building that probably led James Mann to 12th place instead of somewhere in the sub 16 bracket. So congratulations to James Mann. Had an absolutely awesome run at the online regional, got a whole bunch of points there, and man, 2nd place at exactly 1 event. Turned out to be just enough to qualify. So out there for next year, guys, you got no excuse. You can do really well at exactly 1 event. I mean, Zach Pasley as well, right? Zach Pasley managed to qualify off of a very similar run where there was only 1, maybe 2 events worth of points to get there. So all you got to do is commit yourself, practice up, play the decks and you too could make it to the next Hero League Championship. Anyways, congratulations to 12th place, James Mann. You disappeared on us for such a long time, but it was cool to see you in person, and hope to see you at future events, man.